Yes, yes, yes! Oh, you know what that sound means? Time for the paddock F1, Greeny and the Cheese. Round 11 of the F1 calendar sees us back in the Styrian Hills in the Austrian Alps. We're in Spielberg, and that's not for Steven, boys and girls. For the 36th time, it's the Austrian Grand Prix. Styria, Austria, known for its wine, castles, spas, the birthplace of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Do you like that vino, Michael?
Listen, you got the Wiener Schnitzel, which is the veal. You got the Wiener Würstel, which is the beef. And of course, everyone's favorite, the Leberkäse. You know what the Leberkäse is, right, of course? Liver cheese! Oh, you gotta love that when you go to Austria. Get that. Down with that liver cheese.
I think you want to throw up right now. What you're trying to do. This
Very
ain't no
popular.
travel show.
Very popular.
This ain't no. Well, good for them. I ain't eating no liver cheese. That sounds gross. And my name is the cheese.
Customary.
But this ain't no travel show. This is an F1 show. We're racing the Red Bull Ring. 2.68 miles, 10 corners. Well, let's really make that 9 once it's doing a king. 3 DRS zones. You give it the full beams for 70% of your lap. And oh, what a race we got in Austria today, boys and girls. Round 11 brought a little championship fight, like the 11th round. As Max and Lando were battling out, make contact. Punctures are done. They're both out. Russell picks up the pieces, takes his second win in Formula One. Piastri second. Sainz rounds out the podium. We're caffeinated. We're medicated. Greeny. Good day, sir.
Yeah, like a 11-round fight. I guess round 12. 3 straight weeks is going to be the 12th round of this fight because it really has been. Whoa. Holy moly. The one thing I was thinking about, actually, when Max inadvertently or vertently or whatever he was doing there hit Lando Norris.
Oh, he knew what he was doing.
Only a few laps to go there and causing George Russell to inadvertently win the race, I guess. He didn't really do anything to win outside of have a great
Just qualifying.
Great qualifying, be in the right spot at the right time. But Max Verstappen is usually 5, 8, 15 plus seconds ahead at this point. So when you're that far ahead, you're not even going to be in these situations with 8, 10 laps to go. But the field has changed, and this is why we're so excited. This is why we've been so excited over the last month or so. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, it doesn't matter. Max Verstappen's just going to win every race, even if it's now a 2-second gap as opposed to a 20-second gap. Like, no, this is what matters. Having the close races with 10 laps to go, 8 laps to go, 6 laps to go can cause a situation like this where these drivers have to think. Max Verstappen, after the first half of every race over the last 2 years, until recently, hadn't had to think after the first half of the race. He just had to instinctively finish the race. There was nothing, no competition. Especially after the final pit stop, there was no competition. And now, when we're closer, that's what we see happen. Within DRS range for many laps, Lando Norris, and the kerfuffle, the Katzenjammer, if you will, causing the situation that we saw. Lando Norris and Max Verstappen collide, causing George Russell to win, flipping everything on its head. I don't know, but I'm actually slightly disappointed in Lando Norris. We'll get to this later about quitting and Max Verstappen getting back out there and finishing 5th. So very interesting choices at the end there as well, especially with every point counting, every single point, especially in the constructors counting. Very interesting that they made that call for Lando Norris. Maybe you have more insight than I do. And those are my biggest takeaways of the day, man.
Well, my biggest takeaway is old Max was back today. He's feeling the pressure. Red Bull's feeling the pressure. I mean, when do you see Red Bull in the last pit stop of a race make a six-second pit stop? They're feeling the pressure. Max is feeling the pressure. You know, he was moving in the braking zone lap after lap there at the end. And he moved at the end, tried to squeeze Lando out, and made contact and ruined both their days. It was a dirty move. He deserved the penalty. They're living in fantasy land at Red Bull thinking that, you know, it's Lando's fault. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, the man, they were saying that he was trying to dive bomb Max. Well, of course he's going to dive bomb Max. The only way you're going to get past Max Verstappen. The man doesn't race clean when he's put in a spot like that. Let's be real. Let's go back over history. When does Max race clean? When is he not trying to squeeze another driver off the track? Never. He thinks he's entitled. He thinks he's entitled to the entire track. That's basically what it is. He thinks he's entitled, and nobody else should be able to try and pass him. Well, you know what, boys and girls? The McLaren is there. Lando was quicker at the end. By far quicker than Max. And if Max races clean there, he does not win the race. Lando Norris wins that race. Hands down. Hands down. Lando gave Max space every time he went for the pass. Every time. Max did not. Max was moving late in the braking zone, which you're not allowed to do. Nope. Per the rules. And that's why he's given a 10-place penalty there at the end, because he did cause the accident. He did cause the collision. He moved over trying to squeeze Lando out. Old Max is back. He's feeling the pressure. And they're living in fantasy land at Red Bull saying that, Norris was at fault there. I mean, that's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And everybody in the F1 world is saying that right now. Unless you're a Red Bull fan or out of Red Bull, which is absolutely ridiculous. Nonsense. And he actually loses more points by where he finished there in fifth. If you just let Max go and take second place, you're not going to lose that that amount of points. So that's also a dumb move. And that's showing the immaturity again that we thought was gone from Max. But apparently it hasn't, because he hasn't been pressed. And now he's pressed, and that immaturity is coming back out.
When you have a multiple second lead after 2 laps, we talked about this last show, every single race, when you're multiple seconds up and your biggest challenge is qualifying, where you're not racing anyone, you're just racing everyone's time. That's what happens. You're front row for years. Max did have a couple times over the last couple of years where he did race from further back, poor qualifying, gearbox changes and things like that to, start, or penalties or whatever it might be. And it's happened. And he's done a pretty clean race, but Red Bull is not what Red Bull was. Red Bull is back to where they were when Max started, when he was 16, 17, 18 years old, where they're very competitive, but they're not hands down the best team at all. I don't even know who the best team is anymore after this weekend. I couldn't tell you who hands down is the best team after seeing the power failure and causing the red flag in P1 from Red Bull, fairly rare mechanical error for them, and then the 6-second pit stop. Mike Tyson said it best: everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face. And I think Red Bull finally got punched in the face. They finally got it when they lost to when Lando won in Miami, and then Leclerc came back in Monaco, and now George Russell. We have 4 different teams that have won. I can't remember the last time 4 different constructors have won a race in the same season. So we're seeing a lot more parity, and that's very scary and a lot of pressure. And I still think, and I mean, the news is out there that Max Verstappen's still, not guaranteed to win this year. And I know he's not, but hey, listen, this situation really puts into question the absolute definitiveness of Max Verstappen's season of winning a championship. Is he going to win? Probably. But are we definitive? No. And also puts into question, what are they thinking with Sergio Perez? And we'll get to that later. What the heck are they thinking with Sergio Perez? Because is Max just that generationally amazing? Or is Red Bull really slipping?
Sergio Perez stinks. Let's just put that there. He stinks. He just stinks.
What measurement do we have between Red Bull's success and failures and against Sergio Perez? Is that more of a reality? Is Sergio's numbers more of a reality than Max's numbers right now? Because Max's numbers are definitely slipping, and he's coming back to earth. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave it at that.
You just look at the clock. The clock don't lie. As Total Wolf said. The clock doesn't lie. And when you're qualifying that far behind your teammate, it's you. It ain't the car. It's you. You look at everybody else in the grid, McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes. Their drivers are usually within a couple tenths of each other. What's Perez usually? 6, 7 tenths?
Not good. Clearly.
That's like Alex Albon and like Logan Sargent, like time difference.
Who clearly stinks.
It ain't the car. It's you. It ain't the car.
Clearly stinks. All right.
I don't think he's going to make that whole contract you just signed. They might want to revoke that deal.
No. Crazy race. And listen, hopefully this is just another kerfuffle, but it looks like things are coming in much more reality, and realism is really setting in for the 2024 season.
The rivalry is now on between Max and Lando.
Of course, that leads us into Cheese's favorite part of the week. That is Quizmaster's Cockpit. We have 3 questions, 1 time around the lap. I need 3 purple sectors. That means 3 correct answers in a row. There's nothing else suffices. 2 out of 3 doesn't do it. It's 3 out of 3 purple sectors. And we'll go into our winners of the week. If I miss anything at all, it's a loser. And we'll go straight into our losers of the week. And that's the rules. From inside of Cheese's brain to out of his mouth to in my ears. And let me see if I can get anything right this week. He says it's going to be easy, which means I'm probably going to lose. Without further ado, the Quizmaster himself, Cheese. What do you got for me?
Question number 1, sir. George Russell got his second win in Formula One today. When did he get his first?
Crumbs. When did he get his first? I actually forgot George even won another race until he crossed the line. His second career win. And they said first since something, and I stopped paying attention because I was writing stuff down. And then I was like, he's probably going to ask me that. I should probably look that up before we start as a refresher. Was it Italy in 2022?
No. 2022 is right. But it was Brazil. So as per the U, off to a flying start.
That's a tough one.
Not really. Especially Mr. Know My F1 history. And it's not even like 2 years ago that did occur. So
yeah, like I said, I forgot George Russell even won another race.
Maybe a little too much fun you've had on Greentopia, and that short-term memory hasn't computed into long-term yet, I guess, or something.
There's probably some issues up there. Greentopia is a dangerous place. It looks happy.
Dangerous but fun, my friend.
It's a wild place.
Love going.
All right, keep going.
It's a great place. Question number 2, sir. What circuits on the F1 calendar are shorter than the Red Bull Ring?
I know Red Bull's the 3rd shortest. I don't know shortest tracks. I do know. It's always so much pressure. It's like Max Verstappen. Like everything's so easy until you're actually on track here. It's so easy. If you asked me like after the show, off air, I'd probably remember this stuff. shorter. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank. Just guess.
Sure.
Shortest tracks.
I mean, you've already ruined your lap anyway after the first question, so which was a very easy one.
And I know this too. So much pressure. Monaco.
It's one.
That was easy. Crumbs. Zandvoort?
No, actually.
What is it?
The other two are Mexico and Brazil.
You're gonna double Brazil. Is that saying about George Russell that he's won like the 2 of the 3 shortest tracks in Formula One?
No, that's just the way it's worked out, but maybe. George just makes mistakes, so I was kind of surprised he didn't screw up there at the end and Oscar take his maiden victory, to be dead honest.
Pull Phil Mickelson?
Well, let's go to question 3. Let's see if you can get one this week. How many did you get? What'd you get last week? Didn't you do this?
I got one.
Last
I got
week,
one.
too. The week before that, you got none. So you haven't been doing too good. Let's see if we can get one here.
1 for 8. Let's go. Not go 1 for 9. Let's go.
How many Austrian drivers have won their home Grand Prix?
3.
That is incorrect. Only one. And that's Niki Lauda. So that's a full-blown 0 for 3 goose egg.
As
So
always.
that's a full-blown crash out. So that's a
As
full-blown
always,
crash out.
Everything I
That's a full-blown
study and prepare for, it's like my entire life in school. Everything I study for in the test, the teacher never asked those questions. I always ask something else. I could never get on the same wavelength. It's been a while. Maybe too much time on Greentopia.
I guess
Definitely too much time on Greentopia. All right, you got losers. You got losers.
I got losers for you. Go Fernando Alonso, 18th.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? I mean, Aston Martin has gone backwards here. Has gone absolutely backwards. They are nowhere from like the 5th best team to, I don't know, maybe 7th at this point. Disastrous. Second loser, Sergio Perez. You stink, dude. You stink. You can't pass a Haas. I mean, really? That's just putrid. You stink. Red Bull's going to rue the day if they re-signed your ass. Those would be my losers.
Yeah, I'm going to go right at the jugular here with Charles Leclerc. What the heck happened there? I mean, besides him not having a good weekend to begin with, besides, starting 6th, not having a great weekend to start, and then all of us just right off the bat, just your day is ruined, punctured tire. Not a good weekend overall. And Ferrari is definitely slipping backwards. Only one Ferrari with points. We'll get to that in a moment. We're going to get to Yuki a little more later, but he's becoming a mess again. And we talked about Yuki last week and just getting people's way on track and having issues as far as even in practice, having issues, just not being aware. And this is another week where he was not aware of his surroundings. And when you say things that are that detrimental, and we'll get to that later, you're not aware of your surroundings. You're only aware of yourself, and it's not good. Not good. Don't use the R word. And we'll get to that in a little bit. Those are my losers of the week. Anything else to add to that? Disaster.
No. I mean, Logan Sargent's flat out stinks. Joe stinks. They're definitely not going to be in Formula One next year. They both stink. Well, at least they shouldn't be. Let's go to winners. Let's go to Danny Ricciardo. Trying to save his job, getting those points.
Bravo.
Getting those points, getting that 9th place for Danny. As you know, we do love Danny on the show, so it's nice to actually have Danny picking it up here. Maybe he needed that little boot in the ass to get himself going here, but he's really running out of options for a seat here. So this might actually end up being Danny's last year, which will be a bit of a bummer. But let's see who else. I mean, give it up for Oscar. 2nd place. I mean, that track limits with qualifying was a little close. You know, if he doesn't make that little mistake there, starts 3rd. Probably wins the Grand Prix. Probably gets his maiden win. So Oscar Piastri. Contact a bit early in the beginning of the first lap there. Probably had some damage to the car and still held on to, get that 2nd with, the Max Lando fiasco. But give it up for Oscar. He's going to get that maiden win sooner or later. Not, counting a sprint, which I don't really count as. He's got one of those.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
A true Grand Prix. Those have been my winners.
I'm going to go right up your alley one more time. Carlos Sainz, we didn't even mention him on the program yet, finishing 3rd. Obviously, lucky to finish 3rd as Max and Lando take each other out. But he was in it all weekend, and he actually looked really good all weekend, starting on the 2nd row. Definitely got pushed back a little bit in the race, but ended up on podium in the end. And whenever you're podium, man, that's a win. That's a win. Even probably might not deserve to podium this week, but he's there. And it's been rough for Ferrari, so it's nice to see at least one of their drivers back on podium again and racking up the points, especially when points were kind of really spread around the horn outside of Mercedes, who with a 1-4 today. But let's also go. How about Haas? Finally, Nico Hülkenberg over the Bear-Doza line of 6 points, coming in 6th place. Look in your rearview mirror. Look in that rearview mirror. I think he finished 9th in the sprint race. So I was hoping there for a point to get over. Couldn't do that. Had the whole thing with almost getting penalized for not being prepared in the sprint race with being, or in qualifying. I apologize for the whole line violation there. Almost lost places or almost got penalized. But Nico coming through, man, finally getting over the 6-point Bear-Doza line, and Haas had a pretty good weekend, man. K-Mag 6 as well. I mean, or 8th as well. So Haas had a pretty good weekend.
Double points.
Got to give it up to Nico, who I've been ragging on for about a month now, just trying to get that last point. And those are my winners, which, of course, sir, brings us to the one last thing, and that is...
We're going to give it to Red Bull and Christian Horner.
I need to slap my goddamn for that.
Red Bull making the rare mistake and then living in fantasy land that Max can do no wrong. Christian Horner's post-race interview made me wanted to throw up. Just the dribble that came out of his mouth. Basically, Max deserves whatever he wants on the track. Everybody else can just bend the knee at this point. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I wanted to slap him with the left hand and then punch him in the mouth with the right. That made me want to throw up.
1-2 combo.
And the cockiness that he just continues to spew. Just, I'm sick of it. Ah, yes. Best damn sound of the week. Get to take that fantasy ride to that fantasy island of Greatopia, where the beer flows like wine and the wine flows like beer. And the cannabis, oh yes, it grows as far as the eyes can see. Look at it. Look at it out there. Green and luscious. Take a little whiff. That air smells fantastic. Take a little walk to the top of the hill, that casino at the top. Just like Monaco, baby. Are we cashing in or are we checking out?
It was a mixed bag this week. Actually, I gotta pull up the bets here. So give me a moment. But obviously we both had Verstappen highly on our list, both in our three trifectas. You dropped two trifectas with Verstappen, Norris, Sainz. I also had Verstappen, Norris, Sainz plus 550. Obviously Verstappen didn't win. You had Verstappen, Norris, Hamilton. That didn't happen as well, although that wasn't the worst of bets. I had Pierre Gasly top 10. I believe he snuck that in for me, plus 162. Two Red Bulls top 6. That didn't happen. Two Alpines top 10. That didn't happen. So, plus 162. Let me do a little math here because you were plus 150. So you lost 50 greeny bucks. And I lost 28 greeny bucks. Wow. Yuck. So we both lost, but as usual, you are all the way down to 4,110 greeny bucks, and I am at 3,000. Oh my gosh, 212 greeny bucks. You have now widened it to almost 1,000, back to almost 1,000 greeny bucks. Not good. This is old school Verstappen-esque, where the season is trying to be over before the summer break. We're not going to let that happen. We're going to hang in it, and anything's possible. Anything's possible.
Absolutely, anything's possible.
Sounds
gambling, baby.
Unlikely, but it is gambling, baby. So here we go. I still have plenty to play with, not like a few years ago where I ended up in the complete toilet. I also have some preseason bets that we made that I'm still waiting for someone to be fired because I think someone is, and I thought that would pay out by now, but it has not. But whole bunch of bets, Greentopia, let's go crazy. But you, sir, have a nice, comfortable lead. Kick your feet back, which brings us to only one thing left for this episode before we jump in another episode in only 7 days, and that is, sir.
It's time for In the News.
In the news.
It's a light week this week since
short week.
At least, we race every week. Don't get a lot of news. Alpine has now jumped into the Carlos Sainz circus after offering him a contract, since they might be dropping their own manufacturer and going to a Mercedes engine coming up here, which has enticed Carlos to delay his decision now. So as the weekly theme goes, like, where's Waldo? Where's Carlos going to go?
When we talked about this preseason, when Lewis Hamilton made the decision, and you can check that out, episode 97 in our catalog there. You should definitely check it out. You should definitely check out all of our episodes. You should definitely tell your friends to check out all of our episodes if you have not already. And if you are enjoying the show, hit us up, send us an email. But just like that, Carlos Sainz made the mistake of not jumping on another team when his seat got taken. When it was obvious before the season even started, as your agent, or as his agent should have told him, listen, you lost a premier seat. You need to start immediately going after another seat. Yeah. Lewis set the table. We said, silly season begins preseason for next year. And anyone who wasn't paying attention to that, not us particularly, but anyone, their agents should have known this stuff and known that, hey, we're losing a seat in Mercedes. Maybe we should try immediately to go to Mercedes. Maybe we should try to sign a contract somewhere else. He lost his job. And it was his agent's fault. I mean, he's not going out there. He's not making phone calls. Carlos Sainz isn't, to other teams. His agent is. So his agent failed him completely and should have put him in a better spot the second Lewis took the 2025 spot in Ferrari. That's my opinion on it. I think it's a good one.
That's fair. But you didn't answer the question.
Where is he going? I have no freaking clue. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in IndyCar next year.
No, he's got 3 teams will end up on. Definitely not his preferred choices, of course.
Well, he
He's
doesn't
gonna
want to
be in a
race
Williams.
there.
He's going to be in a Williams,
Doesn't
a
want to be there.
Sauber,
Doesn't want to be there.
or an Alpine.
And he might want to be there, maybe, but that's definitely a step down from Ferrari. Man, that's frustrating.
Well,
How did he not end up in the Mercedes? That's the biggest question. It seems like a no-brainer. And then the Audi deal, I don't know how that...
Total Wolff had no interest in Carlos Sainz. Zero interest. He wanted... You could even just tell from months ago with all the news and stuff when they were talking about Seb Vettel coming back to Mercedes. It wasn't Carlos Sainz rumors. There weren't Carlos Sainz rumors. The major rumors were Vettel to come back and take that seat or Antonelli. Carlos Sainz was never really in the conversation out of Total Wolff's mouth. Anything I heard of the Total Wolff, Carlos Sainz was not in it. So he was never getting that seat. I mean, Red Bull might rue the day of, signing Perez instead of signing him maybe at this point.
That's another one. That's agency. That is agency.
Yeah.
That is agency. It's not Carlos Sainz himself making those phone calls. His agent should be making them. He should have a Red Bull seat or a Mercedes seat. I know Toto didn't want him, but he's a much better driver than Sergio Perez. Sorry, Sergio fans. Sorry, Checo fans. But I'd take Carlos Sainz over Sergio Perez any day of the week.
It's just facts right now. Just facts.
Yeah. It's a lot better than Fernando Alonso these days, too. And maybe it looks more and more like Aston Martin made a mistake there and thinking that someone, as I mentioned many, many times, that Fernando Alonso is fading. And it gets tough when you're in your 40s to do this stuff anymore.
Well, that car they've gone the wrong direction. Badly on that car. That's a mess. They're a mess right now. Their upgrades did not pan out as they had foreseen.
No.
So fire that guy.
All right, what else you got there, Tom Brokaw?
All right. Yuki Tsunoda was fined by the FIA for using offensive language. Big fine. 40,000 euros. Although I think half has been postponed until the end of the season or something like that. But he was using offensive language. Used the R word, which is majorly frowned upon. Majorly frowned upon. After the race, after speaking to the stewards, though, apparently he was very apologetic after learning what that actually meant. But still, you can't be using the R word. So Yuki's messing up on the track, driving, and the crap that's coming out of his mouth. Not good.
No bueno. There's many words that are frowned upon, but nothing more than the R word, the F word, and the N word. Can't use them. Shouldn't be using them. Not a professional space. I see you just seal your lips, not even commenting on what I just said, which is probably the smart thing to do. And you learn in life when you work for a major corporation. Okay? We always look at athletes as separate from the corporation they work for. They're not. They're very tied to the corporations they work for and the sponsors they represent. And that's what drives it. If the sponsors decide, wow, you said a word that was not supposed to be said, not okay. There's only a handful of them that really you can't get away with. Only a handful. Keep them out of your vernacular. That's an old one, too. That probably predates Yuki almost when it was accepted.
Oh, yes, by far.
I mean,
by far.
The Black Eyed Peas had a problem with that back in the late 90s, early 2000s when that kind of shift happened. Yes, Let's Get It Started in here was a different lyric many years ago. You could put two and two together based on this conversation. But it's been a while. It's been 25 years, probably before Yuki was born, that these words are kind of canceled for better, worse, or indifferent. That's a whole other show to argue that. But the bottom line is you work for a corporation, and the corporation is going to dictate what you do. And if they don't like it, they're going to fine you. But more importantly, where is that money going? Like, where is that cash going?
It goes to some kind of fund. I forget where it goes.
Some fun thing.
It goes to a fund that for all drivers, fines and penalties and such. There's a fund it goes into. Nobody's taking that cash and running.
Then they go through a cuss word party at the end of the season.
I don't know. I don't know if they don't know you can fit 40,000 euros in the swear jar. To be honest,
It was a lot more than that in that swear jar.
That's a lot. That's a lot of euros.
It's a lot more than that in that swear jar.
Oh yeah, yes, that is absolutely correct.
Yeah, like when I was a kid, we used a swear jar, and then you filled it up. We went on like a vacation or something. Didn't take that long in my house.
No, that fills up pretty quick.
That shit fills up pretty quick. And that's our first cuss word of the whole show. All right, sir. We're going to quick
I actually got one more.
You got one more. I apologize.
One more for you.
Late breaking.
One more. Audi has come out and made some updates on what they got going on behind the scenes. And their power unit is now going race distance on the dyno. Going through all, different levels that you would give a power unit through its paces. As going to the corners and such, given that different power you'd be given. They're hitting full race distance now. And they've been hitting their targets that they have been setting. So the power unit is progressing nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that might be something that Carlos Sainz wants to take a little notice of. Because he's not going to be driving a Sauber after next season. That's going to be an Audi. And they've redone all their facilities at the Audi home plant. State of the art now. Something to think about.
You got a question here, or you just want me to comment on the cash being dropped here in the potential competition? It feels like when Haas came in. Feels like when Haas came in, it was competitive and spent all that money. The money dries up quick. It does. Facilities and everything else. The money drives up quickly.
Well, Haas doesn't have the backing that you're going to have the Volkswagen brand behind you.
This is true.
You're not just going to have Gene. You're not going to have Gene Haas running it. Who's as we know, Gene Haas lost his NASCAR team because he's kind of a dumbass. So
Crazy Gene.
Let's be real here. Audi's going to have the backing because they have all of Volkswagen brand behind them. They've made a major investment in their facilities, which if you want to be at the top in F1, that's what you got to do. I mean, that's what Aston Martin just finished doing. Mm-hmm. They just threw a butt ton of money and basically built a whole new facility, which is basically what they've done here at Audi home there in Germany.
And look how they're doing.
Stuttgart or something like that. So, I mean, Audi's putting the paces in coming in. Almost reminds me a little bit of when Mercedes was coming in back into Formula One and throwing the backing and putting all the upgrade, behind the scenes stuff a couple years before you come into the series. Doing all the behind the scenes thing, upgrading your facilities and such.
Takes a long time and a lot of money.
Takes
a lot of effort and a lot of thought. The thought's the biggest thing. And I'm going to stop you right there because the thought is the biggest thing. Forget about the money. It's what are we doing with the money? How are we utilizing the money? And what's the thought behind it? And do we have consistency in employment on the front end, on the top end of things? Right? As much as people complain about stuff, especially with these heads of teams, it's an asset when you have a Toto Wolff for years at Mercedes or Christian Horner for years at Red Bull, and these people at the top. It's important. It's important when you have a revolving door. So we'll see if Audi can hold everyone together and hold the staff they have now that's building this to take it into Formula One. They are still
adding staff. They are still bringing staff in.
Yes, of course. And they're going to continue to bring staff in over the next 2 years, or year and a half at this point. But is it going to – are they going to stay together? And that's what you need to look at. If you want to look at Audi and what their success is going to be, are the players now that are building this, that are spending the billions of dollars of capital to create this. Are they going to actually be the ones that are sitting there when that vehicle takes the track at, Australia or whatever will be, to open the 2026 season?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, quick turnaround. Where are we going to be?
Quick turnaround again. It's the third of the 3 weeks in a row. We will be in Britain. Silverstone, baby. Birthplace of Formula One, pretty much. So
first one, Queen Elizabeth.
Big Grand Prix, because it's just about everybody's home Grand Prix, team-wise, so it's a big Grand Prix.
Elizabeth yet dropped that flag in 1950 to start Formula One, and we are back at Silverstone, the iconic Silverstone. So one of your favorite races, probably maybe your top three.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Track-wise, for sure.
For sure. Anyway, we will see you all. Say what you got to say, brother.
Catch you guys in a week's time. And as always, stay medicated, my friends.
Peace.